Welcome to the Real Estate 401k Show. Here are your hosts, Ryan Gertis, Mike Weinstein, and Justin Frederick, helping you build a legacy of wealth through real estate. Powered by the Recon Group at West USA and the Frederick team with Fairway Mortgage. NMLS number 625918.
I'm going to take you boys back in time. 1998. I'm 27 years old. And I am driving down the road with who would become my would-be broker. And Ryan and I know him as, the godfather of real estate, Mark Arns, and the owner and proprietor of New Home Information Center. So we're driving down the road, and he goes, "Hey, Mike, what are you doing this weekend?" I go, "Man, I got to go get an apartment, and I got to rent an apartment and all that stuff." "Why rent when you can own?" Like, well, because I've seen my pocketbook. I've seen my W-2. I've seen my bank statement. I'm telling you, pal, I know why I'm renting. So long story short, takes me down to a builder, Trend Homes. Don't know whether you boys remember Trend Homes.
Sure do.
So 13th, it was on the Western Skies Golf Course, Gilbert, Arizona. Walks me in there, and I sign a contract for my very, very first home, $87,500 on the 13th fairway of the Western Skies Golf Course. The most stressful 9 months of my life. Justin, you can attest to this. I know nothing about the mortgage world. They're having me do this and do this and do this. The stress of there's no way that this ends well. There's no way. I'm even doing, do you remember sweat equity where you got to paint the interior of your house for X amount of dollars?
No way.
You guys know how I am with tools, right?
No, you're not with tools. You don't.
How do you think that worked out? So finally, and I remember that night, they handed me the keys. And I'm laying in bed. I'm now 27. I'm in a freaking master bedroom. And I don't even know if we're not allowed to use that term anymore. In a master bedroom, used furniture that my friends gave me. And the thought that went through my mind was, I think the SWAT team is going to knock down these doors because there's no way I should be owning a home. There's no way. Fast forward, one of the greatest, if not the greatest investments that I ever made. Fast forward, I get a new job that requires me to move up into the Scottsdale area. So what did I do? I called my broker. I put my house on the market and sold it within 9 months, put $10,000 in my pocket, bought a new house up in the Grayhawk area. And now when I look back on this, one of the greatest regrets of my life, because what no one said to me was, you have options. You might not have to sell house number 1 to buy house number 2. And had someone sat me down and explained that to me, help me qualify for home number 2, turn home number 1 into a rental property. And now I have 6 of those that I didn't know better, that I should still have in my real estate portfolio. Ryan, it's about options. And I think one of the greatest disservices that our industry, as real estate agents, real estate professionals, realtors, whatever name you want to call us on any given day, is as a whole, we don't sit down with sellers and explain the options, because the natural assumption is if I'm going to go buy home number 2, I got to sell home number 1.
I think one of the biggest disservice, and I'm probably going to get my license revoked by saying this, is that the Department of Real Estate...
It's Gertis, Gerdes, not Weinstein.
is that they have ingrained into new licensees that your job is to sell real estate. You are a salesperson. That's what's going on to your license. It is not to go over there and advise and consult and provide those options to people that own real estate of what is available to them via keeping them and turning them into an investment property. And so once I mentally got over that hump that I'm not going to fit the mold of what the Department of Real Estate, of what
mold do you fit?
Gosh, you know, And, mentally and physically, I don't fit into many things. But when my brain went over to, okay, here is my niche. This is how I'm going to be able to help people, is educating them on how to use real estate as an investment. The world changed for not only my business, but for the people that I work with, their lives. So the first question that I always get when I bring that up is, how the heck am I going to be able to finance that? And this is where I'm really wanting to fold Justin into it. And so, Justin, 2 or 3 really good things that people need to know about when it comes to owning real estate. How are they going to qualify for another home while they still own that one and want to convert it into
Well,
an
before Justin
investment
answers, I would say this, and this is why you need to text the word option to 623-AZ-RECON. Again, text the word option to 623-AZ-RECON to explore the options. But Justin, it's just having that conversation and exploring it as an option.
So what is it?
It's actually really simple. I mean, one thing that we run up a lot with is people that want to keep their home or understand the option of keeping their home is, well, where do I get my down payment from? Well, we can get a home equity line of credit. We can borrow against a 401k. We can borrow money from family members. We can save. But when it comes to the debt to income ratio portion, people don't think they can qualify for the monthly payments of both of them. What we do is we get a rental contract on your current home, and we can eliminate that liability. The liability of your current home isn't going to be used. Well, it'll be used to qualify you, but we're going to use that income that's showing up on the rental contract to basically counter it. So your debt to income ratio is basically clear of that liability in order to purchase another property, because now that your old primary or your current primary is becoming an investment property, which is income producing, and you're going to purchase another property, which you're going to be responsible for that liability. But the renters are going to be basically acting responsible for that liability on your behalf.
I remember, Ryan, I'm going to go back in time. The days that the three of us were on 92.3 KTAR, we were doing a radio show, FM radio. And you remember the day that we interviewed our mentor and our coach, Stevie D? Mm-hmm. And we started talking about these options and saying that one of the things that we lack as an industry is sitting down with sellers and going through the options. And he basically looked at us and said, you guys are just nothing but options dealers. And he said it in the most complimentary way. That's what it comes down to, is as a seller, you have options. And if you're wanting to build wealth and you're concerned about retirement and you're concerned about what you're leaving behind as a legacy and what you're leaving behind for your family, you owe it to yourself and you owe it to your loved ones to, at the very least, sit down and explore those options.
I don't care what it is that you do for a living. You need to have multiple income streams, okay?
Facts.
And this is not just, hey, if you want to be some tycoon or some mogul. This is if you want to have the ability to retire somewhat comfortably sometime in the future, you need to know that you need that the Social Security or the 401k plan probably isn't going to cut it, because however you're living right now, if you're relying on that, is going to be undercut. So if you are accustomed to living off of $300,000 a year, and then you go and now you're living off of a pension, that's going to be cut to maybe 100, 150 in most scenarios.
If you have a pension.
That's a good one, right? Your lifestyle and your quality of living is going to be cut in half.
And what I want to say is, if you bought this house that you're currently considering selling or renting out, if you bought this house prior to March of 2021, most likely you have a ridiculously low interest rate that's basically
free money.
It's free money.
It is.
This is the easiest way to make a lot of money based on how low that interest rate is. You could pay off, and one thing we know is rent's always going to continue to rise, right, over time, just like
property values will go up. Yeah.
Correct. So you're going to have higher rent over time, but you're going to continue to build wealth through that low interest rate, keep that interest rate, and purchase another property.
Well, one of you brought it up, and that was so long ago, like 3 minutes ago, so I don't remember which one of you brought it up. But let's explore, Justin, what a HELOC is and a home equity line of credit and how powerful of a tool it is and how important it is to get the HELOC before you move out of home number one.
So I suggest to everybody, if you have enough equity in your property, always have a HELOC in place. And the reason why I say that is, one, because it's secured asset, or it's a secured loan, so it's secured against your home. So traditionally, that rate runs lower than any other place you can borrow money from: credit cards, personal loans, car loans, anything like that. It traditionally has a lower interest rate. Also, currently, it's still tax deductible interest. But just by having that line in place, let's just say you had a $100,000 line, and I would always suggest max out the line of credit on the line that you can obtain. Don't max out the amount that you can borrow to do silly things with. Make sure you can show for what you're borrowing with, right? But get a home equity line in place. It's simple. You only pay on what you borrow. So if you only borrow $10 on that home equity line of credit, you're only paying interest on the $10. You're not paying interest on the $100,000 line of credit. But use that as a tool to help you leverage and make money elsewhere. So if you have that home equity line in place, and then eventually you're like, well, I'd like to buy another property. Well, there's your down payment. Right. You can use that home equity line of credit to purchase another property, or two or three.
And have your tenant making that payment for you as well.
Correct. Talk about primary versus non-owner occupied as it pertains to HELOCs and that 2.75% interest rate that you have on your primary.
Okay, so as far as home equity lines of credit, with a HELOC on your primary residence, I've seen places go all the way up to 90% of your current home's value to give you a line. Now, currently, most of them are running about 85% of the value of your home.
But if you've moved out and you got a renter in there, and then you try to get a HELOC, good
75.
luck.
Well, I got a bank that can do it, and we can go up to 75% of the home's value. So it's still an option. You can still have home equity lines of credit. But to Ryan's point, you want to get it in place before you move out, before you have a renter in there, because you want to have the line as large as you can, just to have the ability to make solid investments when those times come up, because you never know when something good is going to come up.
All right, it is all about having options. It's all about knowing your options, and we want to help you explore those options. All you got to do is text the word option to 623-AZ-RECON. That's option to 623-AZ-RECON. Ryan, at the Recon Group, we do a lot of things that I'm very proud of. The way that we help our clients build wealth through real estate, the way that we help them build an extensive real estate portfolio to help them retire on. But I don't think there's anything that we do that I'm more proud of than when somebody calls us and says, we're interested in selling our home, and would you come over and do a listing presentation, tell me how much my house is worth, how much am I going to net, and we show up trying to talk them out of selling their home because of the mistakes that we've made, because we've sold so many homes, and watching them go, no one has ever sat down with me and really explored those options with me.
So I'm extremely proud of that too. I'd say the one thing that I'm even more proud of is our girl over there at the TSA, and that's her job. She's 21 years old, 22 years old,
something like that.
And so when our first consultation with her, when she was saying, I don't want to be caught in the rat race. I don't want to be that person that's a lifelong tenant. I want to kick things off. I want to buy my first home rather than rent my first home. And so we walked her through that. Not only that, we said, hey, don't get too comfortable. You are going to be moving out within a couple of years and converting this into an investment property. And so she bought a new home, and when we handed over the keys, her one of their first statements that she made was, I'm already saving up for the second
number
one.
two.
And to me, that was just heart melting, that was just like,
because it was heart melting because she's obviously young and she's got her whole life ahead of her. And two things, it was, we now are playing an instrumental role in helping her not only build wealth through real estate, but we're not her parents, we're not her dad, but I felt that sense of pride of, okay, we
Being
are
paternal, you
we
know?
are helping you avoid the mistakes that we made. And what I mean by mistakes, again, like I said, I have 6 homes that I sold that, looking back, had I had me in my corner, I probably wouldn't have sold, I wouldn't have had to sell, and that would have been 6 homes, 6 more homes to the real estate portfolio that I already have.
So she's 20 something, whatever, 23 or 24 now, right? And she could, if she stays on track, she could easily retire in her 40s. Now, you might be sitting and listening to this or watching this or whatever, and say, well, I'm in my 50s now. I don't have the luxury of time on my side like our 21-year-old client. That doesn't matter. If you let's take inventory of even just the past 5 years, right? The past 5 years of investing that we've done. I'm talking millions of dollars worth of profits.
Well, okay, so with that being said and done, talking about being in your 50s, let me just correct your timeline of events. It was her dad that texted into the show.
Oh, that's true.
And it was her
That's
dad
true.
going, the ship might have sailed a little bit for me, but my daughter, I've heard what you guys have said, and I didn't do any of this stuff, but I want to put my daughter on that path. And I know we have a lot of our listeners who might be in their 50s or 60s, have children or have grandchildren, whom at the very least you're like, I want somebody to sit down with them and put them on that path and explain those things that nobody explained to me.
Well, so let's put another story behind it. If you've watched the show, if you've been listening, you know that I own a place up in Alaska. And that is only something that's come into fruition over the past 5-6 years. That started with a $20,000 investment.
Which is crazy.
Right?
crazy.
So
Yeah.
I bought a house over near Grand Canyon University. I bought it for $150,000.
Lopes up.
Yeah, there you go. I bought it for $150,000. I was able to posture the deal in such that the seller was paying for all my closing. All my out of pocket was just over $20,000. Okay, held on to it for a few years, sold it, made over $250,000 on it. That was my down payment on my home in Alaska. Bought it for $950,000. That paid for my entire down payment on it. Now it's turned into a profitable entity on my portfolio.
And you get to enjoy it.
And I get to enjoy it
With family.
And ultimately, my goal with that one is to have it as a summer retirement home once we get to the point where kids have moved out and we want to use it as retirement. So I can source it back to a $20,000 5-6 years ago
Yeah.
and turn it into over $1 million asset. Because when I was looking at the numbers just the other day, that thing comps out at $1.3 million all day long.
And every time you got all those renters in there, they're buying down your principal, they're making your mortgage payment. And Justin, I just out of curiosity, I know Ryan went up to Homer, Alaska a couple weeks ago. I was going through my text threads. I didn't see the invite. Did you get the invite?
I didn't get the invite either.
Oh, you didn't get it?
No. Is it in the
Because
mail?
You didn't get
It's
it,
in the
son
mail.
of a bitch.
Well, again, it is
Sorry,
all
Mom.
about options. And if you listen to the show, you know that I guess that we are a successful podcast for the amount of trollers that we have.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
We have. Thank you.
Like the fact that you trollers have time. And if you want some entertainment, I would go back and look at some of our reels and our shorts and our previous episodes, the trollers that are out there. But this is one of the things that we take exceptional pride in, is helping you explore your options. If you care about your financial future, if you care about your retirement, and you recognize that real estate could be one of those vehicles to help you achieve those goals, you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your family. Text the word option to 623-AZ-RECON. That's option to 623-AZ-RECON.
Thank you for joining us on the Real Estate 401k Show. If you want more information on how to build wealth, click on the link or text us at 623-297-3266. That's 623-AZ-RECON.